Okay, this video is going to explore common sources for expository topics, specifically that have been successful in my class. This document, Expository Essay Choosing a Topic and Getting Focused, can be found in D2L or Google Classroom if you're one of my Google Classroom students. This is the most important thing I've ever written. Well, I take that back. My wedding vows were really important. This is tied. I've used this document for 20 years to help students find expository topics that meet the 3 rules of expository writing. You got to write what you know, you got to tell us what the audience doesn't already know, and it's got to be relevant. So what this bulleted list is here, is a attempt to capture aspects of our lives that we all share. Things in our lives that all of us do that give us an opportunity to expose and illuminate. A very famous line about writing is that writers live twice. And this is something that makes real writing, very difficult, because as we're going through our normal day, our culture, and in fact, our very human condition, invites us to not reflect. I don't know how many times I've started a day and I've said to myself, man, I just want to get to the end. Or I've hit Friday and I say, TGIF, thank God it's Friday. I used to have a colleague that the first day of the school year, he counted how many days were left, and he made an X and every day throughout the calendar, and it was simply this long countdown trying to get through. When you live like that, it's the opposite of how a writer lives and thinks. When a writer is experiencing something, he or she is constantly reliving it. As they're walking around in their world and going through their daily habits, there's another voice constantly speaking in their ear about what here is something more than meets the eye. What here is something about which I can expose or reveal or shine a light on. And this act of walking through your daily life, living it twice, is a very common academic exercise that writers built their entire careers on. My favorite poet, Mary Oliver, most of her work came from walks in the morning, and she'd see a little mouse, or she'd see an owl, or she'd see something washed up on the beach. And from that simple observation, she drew deep insight. And that's what you got to do. You got to at least fake it for this semester, where you're drawing insight from things that might seem really common. The first piece you're going to read in this class is called Selling Manure. So manure is animal poop. The first essay in this class that you're going to read, it's a model of the kind of writing we're going to do in this class, is about selling manure. Not a very deep topic on the surface. The writer makes meaning of it. And that's what you need to do. You need to make meaning. I often say to my writers, a good topic is an onion. This is using a Shrek analogy, right? It's got layers. What might be very simplistic for somebody else, let's take the game of baseball. Very simplistic, kind of stupid, right? Awful boring for a lot of people. To somebody who really knows baseball, who really understands it, who's really into it, who's really passionate, baseball is an endlessly complex onion with layers and layers and layers and layers that you just keep discovering your entire life. You need to find the things in your life that are onions. And they'll come, I bet, from this list. Let's look at the list. Your job could be a great onion. Most of my writing is about my work. I'm endlessly interested in teaching and writing. I'm constantly learning about it. I'm constantly discovering things. I'm constantly recognizing where other people think this and the truth is really this. In your work, whatever kind of jobs you've had, has are opportunities. I've had students write about what they've learned in customer service. I've had students write about what they learned from daycare. I've had students write about um, uh, being a CNA, a certified nursing assistant. You just want to think, what is something I know well that I could spend a lot of time thinking about that other people probably don't understand like I do? If your job fits that, it's a great possible topic. Education. Now, I'm not saying that you are all great students, but you've all spent a lot of time in school and in various settings. This spring, I had a lot of good papers about virtual school and virtual learning because so many students were doing it, and there was a lot of thinking about it and realization and lots of opportunities to expose. You've sat in classrooms for a really long time. You maybe have been unique students. Maybe you're a student who's returning to school after a long time not being in school. Maybe you're a really young student. I've had like freshmen in high school take this class. Maybe you were homeschooled. Maybe you went to a huge school. Maybe you went to a tiny school. Maybe you went to a religious school. That lived experience has given you opportunities to expose. So think about school as a possible place for expository topics. Family matters. Okay, so you're children of someone, you're possibly siblings. I've had people write about what it's like to be from a huge family. I just had a girl write an essay about her older sister. So she's 18, her older sister is 40, and she's got a 6-year-old sister. The dad is quite old and he's had many wives. That's a unique lived experience that you can expose, that you can illuminate. Only children. Being a parent, being a step parent, being an aunt, being an uncle, having a unique family situation. Being a step parent, being a foster parent can be a powerful place to begin thinking about expository topics. Relationships, your partners, your husbands, your wives, your boyfriends, your girlfriends, your best friends, your frenemies, your enemies, your the people you love to hate, your mentors, your mentees, your coach. The relationships in your life, particularly when they're powerful, can often lead to good expository writing. I just had somebody write about what are the characteristics of a great coach that people don't realize. And it was written by someone who was a college athlete. So spent a lot of time playing sports and really thought about this relationship of coaching and athletes. Our relationships define us in so many ways, and they also make us experts. So I've been married for wait a minute. I've been married for 17 years, and I'm not a perfect husband, but I can I can share some insights that someone who isn't married doesn't know. And I can teach them, I can shed a light. And I've learned throughout the course of my marriage. And marriage is definitely something that's complex. Using your lived experience to teach others is at the heart of exposition. Health issues. So mental issues, physical issues. If you've lived with a mental or health issue or with somebody who has mental or physical health issues, those are great expository topics. I just had somebody write a great essay on how being ADD influences and, in fact, enriches and inspires her artistic work. She's a graphic designer, and the connection between those things. a great essay exposing the relationship between those things. I'm a cancer survivor. I had the kind of melanoma that means you've got like a 13% chance of making it. And I did make it. And if you've survived the big C, it changes your life. And if you haven't had cancer, there are things you can't understand about which I could write, and then you would understand it better. And that's what writing really is. Writing is getting someone else to feel, know, and believe what you feel, know, and believe about a topic. Hobbies and passions. This is an area that students often are really successful early on. Picking something they really love, they really spend a lot of time doing, something they're really good at. Um, this is a fun topic because you're writing about something that is part of who you are, right? I often ask students, you're like, finish the sentence. I'm a football player. I am a woodworker. I am a quilter. I am a frisbee golf fanatic. If you have something, an activity that defines your identity, if you have an activity that defines your identity, you can use that to write expository essays really successfully. Think about it. If you're really, really into something, you understand it in ways other people don't. I'm really, really, really into wilderness canoeing. I go on these long canoe trips in places where all you can do is canoe. You cover many, many miles over many, many lakes. The Boundary Waters canoe area is one place I've gone, but I've also gone to Woodland Caribou Provincial Park and Quetico Provincial Park. That's a thing. Like that is a aspect of who I am. And if I was to write about it for an audience, there are many things people don't understand or don't know or misunderstand about that activity that my own time doing it has informed me and made me an expert. For instance, I could write a great essay suggesting the kind of first trip to take if you're going to get into wilderness canoeing. That would be a great topic for this class. Our travels. When you've been places that other people haven't been, or you've spent a lot of time at a place, it can be a very rich expository topic. We're going to read a piece called The Barrio, which was written by someone who grew up in the Hispanic quarter of a city, and he defines what makes the barrio, what makes it what it is. And all of you can do that. What makes a small town a small town? What makes Detroit, Detroit? What makes up north, up north? That's such a Michigan phenomenon of people traveling consistently to someplace up north. It's a family place, or they camp at the same place. What makes Lake Michigan, Lake Michigan? What a wonderful essay that would be. What makes Grand Haven, Grand Haven, or Traverse City, Traverse City, or Mackinac, Mackinac, or what makes Greektown, Greektown, or what makes Old Town Lansing, Old Town Lansing. Defining, exposing the nature of a place is a great expository exercise because you're following the three rules. You're writing something you're telling us something we don't realize, and it's clearly relevant. Finances. Money is a great expository topic. And in fact, as I'm going through these lists, you can start imagining the publications for which these works would appear. How many magazines are there about money, about financing, about saving, about mistakes people make with money? Because that is a realm of all of our lives, it's a rich opportunity to write. What bothers you or your friends? Things that make you mad are often great expository topics. I had somebody recently write an essay that explored what do people not realize about texting and driving. I had somebody recently write a paper, what do people not realize about rude behavior? And it was written by someone who worked in like a fast food restaurant and constantly observe this rude behavior. Um, those experiences that create emotion, so things you really like, things you really hate, things that really make you mad, are often great expository essays because when something is creating emotion, it naturally usually has a complexity to it that we can explore, that we can peel off and examine. Technology. Now, technology actually is often assigned as a required topic in first year composition classes because old people like me believe you were born with a cell phone in your hand and you've got overdeveloped thumb control. Um, the whole realm of technology should be a rich area for you. Video games, social media, uh, particularly since the spring when we've all moved in these virtual environments. Zoom. I haven't had a Zoom paper yet, but I should because that's an experience many people are having and learning about and thinking about, and there's opportunities to expose. Um, you're immersed in technology, media related to technology for sure, but your favorite media. And I don't have enough students do this. Writing an essay that exposes or reveals why something is great. My wife right now is working her way through Shameless, and that is, I of course she thinks writing is, she does not like talking to me about writing, but exposing why that is an addictive series would be a great paper topic. I just had a friend of mine work his way through Outlander, and why was that popular? Um, you could pick any of it, so really expose and explain the number one grossing movie ever or series ever, the Marvel movies. Really, I just had a student write a great essay explaining the Game of Thrones phenomenon, why that's become so popular. So I focused on TV shows, but books and movies and music and artistic movements, um, all of those things are rich topics for expository writing. If you've got a favorite blank, so your favorite book, your favorite movie, your favorite artist, I just had I had no idea what this was. It's called K-pop. I had no idea what that was. Huge phenomenon. Student wrote an essay exposing, revealing why K-pop is a thing. Um, your favorite blank can be a great paper topic. Current events, if it's the virus, if it's race issues, social justice issues, you could turn on the news and any reaction or explanation that you have for the things that we're seeing is a great expository topic, particularly from your lived place, from the world you inhabit, the people that you're around you, the community that you're from. All those approaches make for really good paper topics. Failures, burdens, and tragedies. I hate to say this, but the worst things in your life are often amazingly powerful expository essays. Last semester, I had a student that had been groomed and abused by a coach, and she exposed that topic and really explained. She focused on how he did it and the process of it. Um, and that was, of course, very hard for her to write, but made for a fantastic paper because it really taught the audience. It led us behind the scenes on this awful thing. Um, I had a really strange class once where in the class someone's child died, and she continued the class amazingly and wrote about that. So what are the effects of losing your child that people don't realize? And in the same class, somebody had a child. Um, and wrote about that. How does having a child change your life? So the worst things in your lives and the best things in your lives are really effective paper topics because they teach us a lot. And what you've learned from an experience you can teach other people with just your words, right? I can learn something of what a mother knows from losing a child by reading good writing. I, I've never lost a child, so I haven't lived it, but I can feel, know, or believe some of it based on a good writer's work. And lastly, articles in our class or lectures or readings in other classes can often lead to good expository essays. Um, in fact, everything we read in this class is either a model of expository writing or writing about writing. You know, a commentary on the nature of writing and its process that I want you to interact with and think about. So the first two readings in the class, Selling Manure, is a first-year composition student writing an expository essay about selling manure, jobs like that. And the second one is called The Barrio, and that's by a first-year composition student, defining, exposing, revealing the nature of Hispanic communities. Barrio, Barrio. So you want to explore your day-to-day living. And I'm going to return back to this concept of living twice. What have you lived through that if you go back and live through again with a writer's perspective, and that's what you're going to learn in this class is what is a writer's perspective? How do I have it? What can I go back and live through again that would make for a good topic for other people to learn from? Think about memorable events. Think about day-to-day life. Talk to other people around you. Think about the groups you inhabit. You know, I met a guy and he was struggling to write, and we met after class, and he said, "Oh, I gotta hurry up. I gotta go to Alcoholics. I gotta go to Alcoholics Anonymous." He wrote a great paper about dealing with substance abuse. I was working with another student, and she said, "Oh, you know, I gotta hurry up and make it to my archery team practice." I said, what? She goes, "Oh yeah, I'm really into archery." I'm like, okay, that surprised me. Stereotypically, I didn't think you would be into archery. Spent a ton of time doing it, turned into a great essay exposing the topic of competition archery. And she actually talked about both the qualities of a great archer and how developing those um, leads to character development that she approves of or likes about herself. So this list helps you think about where in my life can I um, find expository topics, sources for topics. And next, we'll be looking at some actual topics that students wrote about and why they'd be effective and how they can help you think about developing your own topics.